And she panics and she gets upset. But the grape is dislodged and everything passes. A year goes by, 3 o'clock Sunday afternoon on July the 4th, she's gripped with a feeling of choking. Because if you look back in the... Oh, let me, God, let it be me! So it didn't happen then, it was all over at that time. 3 o'clock has passed. You have to wait 3 o'clock till... Christmas time, things happen to people. Certain times of the year, things happen to people. It's because it's time locked. It's time locked. It's time locked. There's so much to explore. See, I have enough knowledge to help that I could show how the British forces can win a war without a shot being fired, using psychological warfare in a good way. In a good way. I know how it all works. Freud didn't know. Adler didn't know. Jung didn't know. Jung was a religious psychologist. He said that we all, basically, he says we come to a certain point in our life and then we turn back, run away from it. It's true. You see? And Freud said, well, sex is the problem with parents. And we have a secret sexual desire for our parents. It's true, because you become sexually affected. I'll tell you that tomorrow. So many different... Pardon?
I hate the word father now.
Pardon?
I hate the word father now, and yet I was comfortable to my body against this. I couldn't understand why am I doing this? And only now...
You begin to understand.
Jung said we come towards a sexual fulfillment and then turn back from it.
Well, no, I didn't say...
Back from it.
Well, no, I didn't say that.
I'm sorry, I didn't get that.
No, it's not a sexual fulfillment. It's not a sexual fulfillment. There's no such thing. Yeah, spiritual. There's you know, Alice through the looking glass when she drinks the liquid says "grow me," and she hits it on the ceiling. That's a picture of when we grow up, we become spiritual, like a rebirth. And so when the ego reaches a certain point of zenith, it needs to go on. And the ego doesn't. It's frightened of what it must give up to go on.
Yeah.
See? And so Jung understood that, and he was called a religious psychologist, spiritual psychologist. And he was called a religious psychologist, spiritual psychologist. But Freud says that things were sexual, that the problem of life was the libido and sexual drive and all the rest of the nonsense. But it's not so much nonsense. He had a little piece of the elephant. You know, Adler had one end, and Freud the other end, and the other guy. Adler had one end, and Freud the other end, and the other guy had the middle part. You know, so see, so I don't know if anybody got that joke, but it went over like a lead balloon. But stop tittering over there. Stop tittering over there. You see, you have a sexual feeling. When women hate their fathers, they become transmogrified. A father that's lovable and genuinely honorable, been violated by the father, is imprinted by the nature of that father. She's been changed so that the only relationship she can have, because she's changed inside, hatred towards her father has traumatized and put in her something of him that cries. Who understands that? And so therefore the sexual feeling awakens towards the father, embarrassed, but she starts to look for men that love her sensually, because the sexual feeling is towards the wrong kind of men. More of that tomorrow, because there's too much hate. More of that tomorrow, because there's too much hate, too much one. You won't be able to handle all this at one time, because I got new people here. I'm surprised you're still here. I'm surprised you haven't taken your tail and run. Okay. Angry with me, were you? You weren't angry with me, man.
I love you, Mr. Master. So
I know you do. I know she does. She loves me. You can correct somebody and somebody will feel pain and they'll still love you more if you correct them in the right way.
But I wasn't wrong, Mr. Master.
Yeah, you were. All right. That's good. You hold on to it. I had a tendency, she had a tendency to Jesus Christ everybody to death. No, there's a danger if I let her go, she'll do it. And turn a lot of people off without realizing. I'm very delicate with what I say. I'm very delicate with what I say about the old geezer. I'm very delicate, because a lot of people have been hurt by religion. Am I right?
Yes.
Yeah, so, and I don't want to hurt you with religion.
I was excommunicated from an organization, so I'm not sitting here.
Well, yeah, but you got. There's too much of those words. There's too many of the Christianese quality that is so destructive. So you understand? I have to attack you to preserve these people because they won't speak up and say. They'll think that Roy Masters is tolerating this and start to hate me. Who understands that? This and start to hate me. Who understands that? Thank you very much. See,
Please, can I say something just briefly?
in your own defense.
That from my experience, my experience teaches me to be aware of anyone who will sort, put them. I'm not saying that you are doing so, but I'm sure you keep on stressing that you don't, put them. I'm not saying that you are doing so, but I'm sure you keep on stressing that you don't want individuals to get locked onto you. You know what I mean?
I don't want them to get locked on you and hate me.
But Jesus, the life, because I believe that hypnosis is to use the word mesmerization or whatever, hypnosis is something else. And life, I believe that mesmerization or whatever, hypnosis is something else. And life, I believe that there is one who is spiritual, that is life, and there's one who is spiritual, is destiny. That is so.
Let me handle that.
So,
All right, let me be the teacher here. That's what they're here for, right? So far.
Right.
Yes.
Just say something about forgiveness. We were talking about that gentleman. You said your father was a drunk. Was it?
He was not drunk. He used drink to drown all his grief.
That's a drunk.
And in return,
Don't excuse him, he's a drunk.
yes, he's a drunk. Yeah, he was.
My dad was the same. And our family, we had 10 children in the family. And he messed us all up over a period of 20 years. And we hated his guts for many years. But to make a long story short...
That reminds me of the cannibal that turns to the other cannibal and says, I hate my grandmother's guts. And he says, I hate my grandmother's guts. And he says, okay, eat your vegetables.
We did hate him, and I almost became him until I listened to Roy. I almost became an alcoholic myself. But after about a period of about 10 years, I asked my mother, he killed my father and the tyranny of it. So my mother told me a big secret that I never knew, and this really helped me forgive me, because I found it very hard to let go of the forgiveness, because I tried to justify all the hate that was in myself. And she told me that when he was a little boy, that his own mother molested him.
That's right, yes.
And I was in bits, because I had hated him for so long,
He hadn't been able to deal with it.
I wish he was dead at that stage. I just wish he was there then, and I could really forgive him and say, now I understand that, why you were like that.
You can forgive. I forgave my father. I do it all the time, because I realise since his passing why he did the time. Because I realise since his passing why he did it. He was grief-stricken all his life.
That's no excuse.
No.
But he never was listening to Radio Caroline. He somehow it wasn't there for him, but he meant well. He meant well. There was something good in him, wasn't there?
That's right. Oh yes.
He meant well. There was something good in him, wasn't there?
That's right. Oh yes. He didn't want me to turn on him.
But that's a cue. He didn't know how not to be that way himself. See, there are some people who are rotten all the way through to their bones, right to their soul. And you meet them, very dangerous people. They look like they're trustworthy, they can look like they're friends, they could be marvelously sociopathic, which means you can't tell a sociopath from a solid citizen. And suddenly when they got you into an uncompromising situation or a business situation, suddenly they show their hand. Right? Very, very careful. There's some very dangerous people who are rotten right down to the core. They've made their commitment to evil. So don't be embittered by them, because it takes a certain gentle experiencing with the world to know which ones are like your dad. and which ones are really rotten to the core. I mean, some who like your dad, and which ones are really rotten to the core. I mean, some who drunk to the core, never want to find anything. To hell with the family. All I want is me beer. And to hell with the world. And to hell with my family. Rob a piggy bank to get get an extra drink. Now there are people like that. Your father was obviously. You still have to forgive him. You know why? Because that kind of man wants you to hate him.
That's it. My father wanted me to hate him, I didn't.
I know, but you understand that kind of person's power comes from getting you to hate them.
Can I just...
The more rotten they are, the more power they have over you.
Was it your daughter? You got pregnant, you said?
My son
Your
was
son.
self-pregnant.
Oh, your son, yeah.
Self-pregnant between them.
Yeah.
We had that 2 years ago. I had 3 daughters, my middle one's 27 now. The son's 2 years old, doesn't look like brown hair. 7 now. The son's 2 years old, doesn't look like brown hair. Now, my daughter, he made my daughter pregnant deliberately. It was a really nasty thing. He beat her up.
Yeah, that man, if it would have been me, that would have been his last gasp.
That's right.
At 66 years old, that would have gasped.
That's right.
At 66 years old, that would have been the last thing he ever did.
You did right.
I hate to put it that way.
But
But the only thing is, my daughter wouldn't put herself in the uncompromising situation. See,
But at the end of the day, she's come out on top, and he is the loser. He's come back with his mother who was on. And his mother is the result of his behaviour anyway.
sure.
He was mothered, smothered everything. You know it, right? So she's always learned all this happened. He used to have sex with her daughter all his life to her. Right?
Wow.
Yeah.
That's like I said. If that was I know that would have been.
But at the end of the day, my daughter's come out on top. And the
You've taught your daughter not to hate him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't do that after.
You've also looked at your own relationship to your daughter, which make her look for love in those places. You see.
It's only all the bad times that I had. I could handle all the situations. It's only all the bad times that I had. I could handle all the situations that came up.
Yes.
And my wife watched it to me. She said, "You were brilliant." And it was my moment of truth. That was.
So you pulled your daughter through.
Yeah.
And you-
I still had to hang on to it.
Yeah. But you came shining through on that one.
Yeah, I did.
That's good. Because you could, if you handle it, shining through on that one.
Yeah, I did.
That's good. Because if you handle it wrong, you could have set her on that path for the rest of her life.
It wasn't what happened that bothered me. It was what was coming. The kid didn't pass the round. I passed the classroom.
Where were we now? We had a very good point going, and we were talking about what? Forgot what it was.
Forgiveness.
Oh yeah, we were talking about forgiveness and how important it is that you have to. It is the root, and you have to understand that it's hate that separates you. So you have to understand. If I may jump forward and give you a little religious lesson, just a little preview, is that man is made in the image of God. In the fall, something else operates, something unholy stands there, controlling him. That person not aware of it. People who are cruel are not aware of their own cruelty. As a matter of fact, it's very hard to stand up and show a person he's cruel because he thinks that's cruel. You understand that, don't you? They always think they're wonderful, cruel they are, and they don't see how cruelty is passing through them. It's up to you to show them that. Now that's not easy because your light has to shine, and you have to learn not to respond to the assault, the psychological assault that you will always get from these people. It's natural for these people to psychologically assault you. Always get from these people. It's natural for these people to psychologically assault you. Because they've been psychologically assaulted. As a result, they've given in to the assault source. They are now an agent of the other side. And it's natural for them to want to hurt you. It's unnatural for them to be otherwise. It's natural for them to want to hurt you. It's unnatural for them to be otherwise. They do it like breathing. So, it's their nature. So that's their nature to want to hurt you. And if you stand up to them, you better be prepared not to become one of them. like he became one of them. And so you have a brightness inside you, and you have that love, which is no hate. Then, on this earth, there are two forces, where he's coming from and where you're coming from. And where you're coming from is stronger than where he's coming from, because his force is weak to get a victory, a cheap rush. His identity depends on destroying as he's been destroyed. See? When he meets a person that he can't destroy, but doesn't want to destroy him, that you don't come back and do tit for tat. He tries to make you hate him, that's how you fall. You don't tit for tat. He tries to make you hate him, that's how you fall. You don't hate him, and then he sees himself in your light. It's the shock of his life. It's the shock, you can't believe the shock those people go through. You shock the hell out of them is what you do. He tried to shock the heaven out of you. All you have to do is stand there and not let him bother you. And then he sees that you have something greater in you than he has in himself, and he sees it. It's like telling a dirty joke and nobody laughing. It's very embarrassing. See? Try to mess you up and he doesn't mess you up. He sees what a mess he is. And therefore, the shock awakens to looking at himself. And he expends his energy trying to hurt you, but he cannot. He cannot transform you. You transform him. In other words, he gets upset because he can't upset you. When he gets upset because he can upset you, you penetrate him with good. He doesn't penetrate you with bad. Now he's good. He doesn't penetrate you with bad. Now he's got two choices. Go crazy, or say thanks, I needed that. I'm sorry, friend. He's over the other side. He comes to the other side. His ego's got to go one or two ways. He has to run like hell, tell stories about you. I have to do things against you for righteousness' sake, for such is the kingdom of heaven. Right? I know you homed in on it. So, the secret of life is to understand that, coming back to you cannot hate you cannot hate your brother, sister. You cannot hate your brother. Because you hate your brother, he's made in the image. And to hate him is to hate the Creator. What you have to look at is the puppet inside him. He's the puppet and someone's pulling the string. Someone's got hold of that image. And manipulating him, and someone's pulling the string. Someone's got hold of that image. And manipulating him to do hell's work to you. Who understands that? Alright? So, you see how, if this was explained to you in psychology classes, you'd come out winners. This is understandable, this is usable information. You'd come out winners. This is understandable, this is usable information. So all you have is to see what's going on underneath, you see. So once you understand that principle, that person is taken over and you want to try to save him. He's trying to hurt you. You want to save him. But you're not going to try hard to save him. You're just not going to let him hurt you. And then what shines is what saves him, not you. See? Shines is what makes... It's not you doing the work, something else within you that he sees, that you're true to. Because when your enemy tries to hurt you, you love your enemy. You don't love your enemy and go, I love your enemy. You love those who are good to you, and you don't hate those who are bad to you. Simple. That's what the two faces of love. Is that right? So, you love, don't hate your enemy. Enemy is shocked, possibly into repentance, into being a friend. I made a lot of friends that way. Into being a friend. I made a lot of friends that way. There would be enemies. I've made a lot of enemies too. That way. That don't bother me either. Because they hated me without a cause. Hate a person with a cause, you justify them. But hate you without a cause drives them mad. They spent their whole life drives them mad. They spent their whole life trying to destroy you and self-destruct. Never hurt me, only hurt them. See? Revenge is mine, saith the Lord. There's another one. There's another way. You don't try to take the revenge. So the thing is, if you hate the man, if you hate man who has the form, but not the comeliness yet, but the form of the Creator, you are separating yourself from the Creator. You're hating God. That's exactly what the hell and that person wants you to do. But then you become a victim. Sort of finishes you off. It's simple. See, that's what brotherly love is all about. You have to understand what you're dealing with is a stolen body, to put it in simple terms. He's not himself. But you do get a consciousness of what I'm talking about, right? You do get while you're in this room with me, time goes by very quickly. What time is it? See, we've been here. See, did you know we've been here 2 hours since you came in? Does it feel like 2 hours you've been here? No, it doesn't. It feels like minutes, doesn't it? That's because something in your consciousness, when you are focused in the right way, time doesn't have the same. It's almost like a sleep. It's like time doesn't mean anything, because you have lost in this other world. You've got more time. You've got less time to do more in, because you never seem to accomplish enough to satisfy your ego fulfillment. And then your body's wearing out. See, and the time that makes you fail, in that time you fail, and in that time the time that makes you fail, in that time you fail, and in that time you feel pain, and so therefore you get rid of the time and you sleep, you escape. You get rid of the consciousness of the time that's rubbing, grinding against you and making you old and die, bringing you to the inevitable edge. You know. But when you're in this consciousness, where we talk about things that are noble and spiritual, time disappears. Your whole life, see, my days are like seconds. And if Einstein said about time, it says all relative. He says time is different sitting on a hot stove. It's different relative to your consciousness. Most people make themselves more unconscious, deny, escape. See? Escape. See? They reduce their consciousness in order to reduce their sense of guilt and pain. What I want you to do is become more conscious and come towards the pain. You come towards the pain and face the music. Face the fact, whatever it is. If you feel any aches and pains and anxiety when you leave, face the fact, whatever it is. If you feel any aches and pains and anxiety when you leave this place, face it. Say, I wonder what that pain is. I wonder what that anxiety, I wonder what that funny feeling in my bones is. I wonder what this terrible feeling of gloom that's coming over me right now. Maybe it was the seminar that did it. Maybe it was the seminar that did it. No, I'm saying whatever it is, look at it. Just look at it. Go towards it. Don't run from it. Go towards it, and then it will reveal itself. Like the lady just now, a few moments ago, my lawyer friend. She said, "Oh, I'm just realizing this." Well, when you're realizing something, say, "What's this pain?" And if you want to know, you will know. Suddenly you'll see it. You see it when you least expect it, because it's not an effort of your part. There's no effort on your part. You see it. Seeing it is to be healed. Any questions? While I wet my whistle. Well, I don't mind, but there's got to be other people who can speak here. Front row, middle row. Not the preacher lady. Who speaks here? Who wants to open up? There we go.
You were talking about shadow awakening, because I feel like if they go towards that and lose control, and the losing control...
You never had control. No, when you move towards the pain, no, you won't. It's not the truth. It's a lie. You believe a lie. You've got to learn not to believe lies. You go towards the pain. That's what the pain's all about. As you move towards the pain, yeah, you will. The truth of the matter, you will collapse, but you want to collapse. The you that is not you, that failing, sickly, nothing that thinks itself as a something you, that everything that's sort of grown out of the earth, everything that's sort of grown out of the earth, and all the errors of your ways, all excused neatly. You see, I mean, it will Christ said something very interesting. He says, unless a man die, be born again, he can no way into the kingdom. What does he mean by that? Who shall lose himself shall find himself. Here it is. Who shall preserve his life shall lose his life. Who shall preserve his ego animal life shall lose the spiritual life. You keep on boozing and drinking. That earth nature, the ego animal, that's in conflict with what you could be. If that's not all you are, but it's all you like to think of yourself, you don't, heaven forbid, perish the thought that you should think that what you are is less than what it ought to be, because you've been so busy building this wonderful, what you are is less than what it ought to be, because you've been so busy building this wonderful self up. It's not so wonderful. It's part of what has to be. Because first of all, the wrong has to exist. Nobody comes into the world right. We all come into the world and we build the wrong self first. Right. We all come into the world and we build the wrong self first. In the light, and when the wrong self has reached the full zenith of its growth, suddenly it realizes something wrong with the way it exists. It's time to give up the wrong self and to be overshadowed, be renewed by a right self. The first form is ego animal. The first form is ego animal from the earth. The second one is born again from above. And so, yes, it does feel like you're going to be annihilated. Yes, it does feel like you're going to die unless a man die and be born again. And the Pharisees, the idiots that they were, die and go back in your mother's room. And I can see Jesus saying, I said, you're a bunch of nutcases. That's how I would say it. How comes that you guys, you spend all your time frothing in your mouth with these prayers? You're supposed to, you're leaders and teachers, and you say, go back in your mother's womb. No, the man is first of spirit. No, the man is first of spirit. Nature and then of spirit. You see, you have to put on a new nature. The old one has to die. The new one has to take its place. You must become transformed by the renewing of the mind from within. Don't be afraid. It feels like dying. But it tells me what a big ego you have. You have a huge monstrosity in there. That it clings to everything familiar. Right? Don't worry. If you want it, you go ahead and enjoy it for a little while longer. Good luck, you're going to need it.
One of the problems I feel I have is I can't trust that pain because I feel like
Worked out so you never have to face it. See? He's got this whole argument.
Well, I've been listening to you for a long time, and now I've got so much knowledge in my head of psychological everything.
It won't work for you.
No.
You're just using it. You're just misusing what I'm teaching you.
Yeah.
You're just misusing what I'm teaching you.
Yeah.
Just roll up your sleeves and go there. Okay, if you're going to die, die. You're going to die anyway, aren't you? Why don't you die to life rather than die to death? That's the choice you have. Die to life. Let your ego get slain in the spirit. The Christians talk. Let your ego get slain in the spirit. The Christians talk about being slain in the spirit. That's exact good term for it. Slain in the spirit means as you come towards the threshold of the light, if you really know there's something greater than you, and you're not the greatest, but you like to think of yourself as the greatest. But when you come to that light, you see what of yourself as the greatest. But when you come to that light, you see what a small nothing, ball of nothing you are. Well, that's very painful. The one form of life gives way to the other. And it takes a great deal of love and humility for that life to take form in you. But one has, that's been a big fat ego of yours that's been the bane of your existence from the day you were born. And everything, all the habits that go with it, all the silly habits, the silly thoughts, is rooted in that. It's the seed of all your unhappiness. It's the root of your nature. It's the rebellion against God to be God. To be God. Everybody in this room thinks he's God, even though he doesn't think he's God. He doesn't know he thinks he's God. They do. Everybody in the world, there's 5,000 million people, 5 billion people, every single one of them think they're God. They don't know. They don't know they think they're God because they're so far away from truth that would show them that's the truth. But that's exactly what they are in their behavior. whether they see it themselves or not. They're all lording it over each other. Transform the renewing of.
I don't know, I seem to think sometimes the problem is that the pain
Can you hear all right?
okay,
Good. Let me come over there.
that the pain is so big because the problem is that you really don't want to admit that you don't want to give up your sin.
Go on. Go on.
Yeah, I
Say
don't know
more.
what to say more.
Explain yourself a little bit to the people over here, so you help yourself in saying it.
I don't. It's like you're really in hell because you can see yourself standing there sinning, wanting something that you know. But I don't know if sometimes I think, well, I might not even want to give up my sin because I think I can see that I'm one big zero. You know, I'm full of faults. I'm doing almost everything wrong. And if
On that last bridge.
yeah, it's like I want a
Just in
leg in both camps, if you can.
Yeah. Who understands what she's saying? That's right.
And
You're not
it's-
ready to commit yet. You're not
it's
sure it's going to
hurting.
work. You don't
It's-
have the faith yet. You
No,
don't have the
maybe
faith that
that's
something
true.
will be better if you let go of what you think of as better.
You know it in your brain.
Or what you think of as better.
You know it in your brain. I know because I've listened and I truly believe it. But still, it's like I don't want to give up my sin anyway, and that is really a pain. I don't know. That's pain. Because you can-
give the artist, give that to her.
Yeah, no, that's pain.
Give
Because you
that,
can-
give the artist, give that to her.
Yeah.
please.
And added to not wanting to give up, in order to support your hanging on to it, I find every now and then a little thought that says, well, maybe Roy Masters isn't always right anyway. I mean, he says this, but who says he's right? And all these anyway. I mean, he says this, but who says he's right? And all these arguments come into my mind to stop me giving up the thing that I really know is wrong. Because I give it up because I thought I understood what you were saying. I want to give up because I thought I understood.
And you did understand,
Yes,
but
and then
you.
these sort of come in and say, well, look at what... So my mind picks on something and takes it out of context, which you may have said years ago.
Yes.
And I think, well, you'd better watch him, he's not 100% right,
I'm not.
But that my mind uses that to encourage me to hold on to what I know is wrong.
You see, I don't even have that comfort, to doubt him, because I know completely in my root it's true. I know the truth and that it is truth, and I know the truth and that it is truth, and I know that I have to give up my sinning, because else I will die rot in hell, and I don't want to do
Something
that.
like that, yes.
Yeah. There's absolutely no doubt about it.
She knows that for sure, but
But it's like, I don't know why, maybe I'm in love with it.
But isn't it like getting married, no? All the time promising somebody to get married, and then you have to make a commitment, no?
you're identified.
This
No,
is
you're
the date, and I have to do it.
you're identified with it.
Yeah, maybe that's...
It's everything you are
Yeah.
from those experiences,
Yeah.
and they have a natural. What's in you has a natural longing for it. It has a natural because it's all you've. It's the only longing and fulfillment to that longing you've ever known. Am I on? Can you hear me? Okay. You understand that longing? If anybody wants to.
Pain by association, and that really is where you go through it.
How do you mean?
When as you're going through the sort of pain barrier, through things are coming through from your past, and then occasionally you act differently, and people say, why do you do that? Or you still feel as though there's that bit of the old you, and you can't fully let go. But
You tend to want to submit to.
yeah,
What,
you
to
still
submit
got
to
that
of the-
string trying to pull you back all the time. But eventually, the more you go through it, you can see the light at the end of the tunnel. You go through it, you can see the light at the end of the tunnel, and the things that used to pull you to one side lessen, but sometimes it's a long process.
Let's say that you're happily married, and there's this beautiful, ravishing blonde living next door.
That's definitely it.
Next door.
That's definitely it.
Am I sort of picking up something here?
Yeah.
See, so there's a part of you
that would have looked at her sort of 10 years ago.
Yeah, but there's still a part of you that's kind of locked into that.
Into that.
You are happily married.
Yeah.
You are doing the right thing. You are slowly progressing in your honor and integral opportunity. Right?
Well, what I've started to
she
notice...
she thinks you're very handsome.
Yeah.
Does it? And, you know, and she starts to make little eyes at you, right?
That's it.
And there's that old nature stirring, right? Now, one pulls you one way, and the other, but now does. Now, one pulls you one way, and the other, but now does that mean to say you're not committed? Does it mean to say that you're not committed to your wife, to God and family, just because this starts to pull on you? Yeah, it could mean that.
Well, I think sort of a few years ago, I'd see some really attractive girl coming down the street and say, Struth, you know. Oh, but now, what I've started to see is that I'm not so much looking at her, but if there's other guys around me, I'm seeing the way they look. And I'm thinking, hey.
Improvement. But you ought to see, there's one thing you can deal with this last vestige of attraction to the world you're living in, right?
That's it, yeah.
I'm talking to, what's your name? Krista. I want to address both of you. The way you deal with it, probably it fits to whatever she wants, whatever her problem is. It's not it fits to whatever she wants, whatever her problem is. It's not necessarily that it's a lack of of commitment. Not necessarily, or possibly. I would suspect not necessarily in your cases. But you still have that attachment. Remember how the past it affects, but you still have that attachment. Remember how the past it affects you in the present and becomes your future because you don't know how to deal with it. Remember I spoke to you about how you deal with anger. That person with a belt buckle, the one who looks like a belt buckle is already intimidating you and you didn't even notice it, and you was and it was reinforcing the old angers that you had towards your father, even though that man is not doing anything. He happens to be wearing a belt buckle, like the one his father beat you with. It's the same thing with the sensuousness. You've also sinned sensually. The pain of suffering has awakened sexual feelings, and you look for pleasure to soothe the pains of pain. Seduced the next time, even though you have no pain, and you haven't done anything, you haven't, not angry about anything at that moment. Nevertheless, when that pretty girl walks by, she has that command over those senses. See, she's connected to you. Any pretty form with that same look, that you enjoyed before when you shouldn't have, right?
Yeah, that's
all right. Now,
well,
am I getting close to you?
Yeah.
Now, the way you deal with that is the same as the way you deal with anger. You stand back, watch it pulling on you. If she's pretty, don't turn your head away. Look at the prettiness, but look at yourself looking at it. And don't indulge it. The same thing when people anger you. There's a little tidbit of anger that it could rise and you can indulge it, right?
Yeah.
But you don't indulge it, you let it go by. Let it pass. Bonded to reality, and that the temptation is weaker. Same thing with all of your considerations. Every one of those little considerations that come up, whatever they are, in your life, look at them, stand back. You have this choice. You can either indulge it or not indulge it. Admit to yourself that it is tempting. Indulge it or not indulge it. Admit to yourself that it is tempting. And it is. But look at it and decide, see in your own heart where you're going with this. You know where it's led before. It doesn't go anywhere. You know it from experience.
Like every choice is a matter of life or death, in a way.
Every choice is a matter, because the choice that you make in the right way, letting the temptation go, is a choice for life, for life, for life, for life, or for death, for death, for death, for death, for death. See what I mean? So, in a manner of speaking, you miss on a few cylinders the first time, but after a while you get the hang of it. Alright, so I'm not going to condemn you to death because you blow it. Oh, thank you. Yes, dear young lady. Please stand up so we can see your magnificent form. Can you just can you pass that back to the lady so that she can I can enjoy? Can you pass that back to the lady so that she can I can enjoy her full volume?
Now, I'd just like to know how you can stand back from it.
Oh,
how
don't you have the meditation exercise?
I do have
that. That's how you do it.
Yeah, but it's a question of... do you mind if I sit down? Yeah, but it's a question of... do you mind if I sit down? It's just... it's a question of exactly... I find when I'm doing the meditation, which isn't very often...
Oh, well.
But when I do it, I can either get caught up in my thoughts,
yeah,
or being aware of my hand. But it's either one or the other. I don't.
Well, that's right.
Get into the.
See, to my new friends here. Well, still not bored with me yet, are you? All right. See, I have an exercise that you should be practicing. That if you're not truly committed.
But the same problem is.
See, that's where you're not committed yet.
There,
see,
yeah.
That exercise, should you choose to do it, starts to lead you to light. Starts to cause you to be objective and get control over your life. But remember, the control over your life that I'm alluding to has to do with giving your control up to a higher power. Now you have to understand that there are forces in this world that make you think you're in control. The alcoholic thinks he's in control. He gives, he's had a good drink and now he feels like fighting Joe Louis again. The guy comes up to him about, you mean to say you've had 3 drinks and you feel it? You mean to say you fought Joe Louis before? He said, no, but I felt like it before. See, you can feel like you're 10 feet tall and you can feel good about yourself and you can really feel like you're in control because you're mad. Anger makes you, in Los Angeles, saying, get mad at the earthquake because it makes you feel like you're in control. I said, listen, you nerd head. You're more out of control. You think you're in control. You've never been in control in your entire life. It takes a long time to see that. So you really have, it boils down to if you're willing. So you really have, it boils down to if you're willing to see the truth, you are able to see you're not in control. So you're not losing control, you're just giving the control that something has over you in the negative to something that has control over you in the positive. Not so? That's all it is. Called repentance. In religious parlance. Repentance. You're actually gaining control, but you're never going to be in control. Listen, there's no such thing as control. Nobody has control. That's what everybody loves. That's why you have governments that throw you out of control so you can be in control. Bullies. No. Nobody has any control over anything. And you have to eventually see that. And what makes you see it in a way that is positive is the love of truth that you have. The longing eventually is the love of truth that you have. The longing eventually makes you see the truth. Oh my God, what dark thing am I serving? What destiny do I have? What reward do I have? The wages of sin is death. See? Now you see that. A searching person can see all that. See? Now you see that. A searching person can see all that. The unsearching person can't. He still thinks he's in control. As long as he stays drunk and unconscious. He has the idea that's given to him, but that's not true. It's just an illusion he likes to have. All failures like to think they're not failures. No, all you're seeing is transferring the control that you thought you were going to get through the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil, right? And you get smart so you're in control. You're not. You're subject to that which has offered you the fruit. You're not. See what I mean? You're either a slave of one or a servant of the other. There's no way it can be any different. So, do you understand that point? There's only 2 forces in the universe that's non-physical. Good and evil. And the good and evil thing is a very interesting phenomenon because evil exists that good might be. See, all the creatures of the earth, the moon, the sun, the stars, the atoms, the cycles of the orbits of the planets, the life and death. That's all immutable laws. Nothing is free. Nothing is free. Animals are not free. They are all compulsive. They can't be anything but a snake can only be a snake. And it has to tend its young, and it has to reproduce itself, and it does everything a snake does to be a snake. It can't be anything but a snake. A snake is a snake is a snake is a snake. Right? A human being to be something other than they are. We are the children of God. We are the sons and daughters of Him. Or we can be God. That's the game, the divine game in the soul of men. And that's how God is creating love, because He, in order for you to have love for Him, He has to give you the freedom not to love Him. That's what evil's for. And He hands you over to that evil until it chastises you into, like the prodigal son. See? And then you see what a good God that is. He cleans you up He cleans you up in a few minutes. You knock on the door. You think He's going to give you a swipe round the face, and He finds that He's happy. You know, kill the fatted lamb, fatted calf. I have lost the son. And he was dead, and now he's alive. He's come home. Does that make sense to anybody? See? So it's the journey away and the journey back. And you learn a lot on the journey away. You know, like the prodigal son, he learned that his father's servants lived better than him. He was in the pigsty eating pig food. Servants lived better than him. He was in the pigsty eating pig food. Because all the friends that he thought were friends, that supported him in his rebellion and his wickedness, when he didn't have any more money to take from him, they abandoned him. His father never abandoned him. He was always ready for him to come back. That's pretty good, isn't it? Where do you find never abandoned him? He was always ready for him to come back. That's pretty good, isn't it? Where do you find a dad like that? Well, that's your spiritual father. And yes, dear lady, what happened to the microphone? Pass that down to her. Thank you very much. Eat the microphone.
I don't. I hate to eat microphones. No, I don't.
I mean, pig.
For more information, please write to FHU United Kingdom at AOL.com.